Hey guys, welcome to the Cycle 2 podcast for the 2017 through 2018 season. We've been debating on whether this is the 17 or 18 Cycle 2, so we'll just call it the 17 to 18. Anyway, you guys just finished up Cycle 1, hopefully, and you're getting ready to make the transition into some more explosive style work, but that's not all we have for you. So before we dig into this, what do you guys got?
Drill.
What do you got, Sherb?
Oh, all right, I'll go. So last year we had a really popular item in our store. It was our joggers. There are 2 new colors out there. They will go fast. They're, colors by popular demand. We got some green ones. We got some blue ones. We're going to go fast. Do not wait. Get them now. We also have a pre-order going on for this shirt. I'm going to turn around.
First time he's not sweaty enough to...
The shirt's black.
Black hides the sweat.
I saved it for
Black
this reason.
hides it.
I didn't want to wear it early on working out, but pre-order's going on now. It's only a week
It's the
long.
only way to get it.
Yeah.
It's the only way you can get that shirt.
Wow.
It's not coming back.
It's pre-order only.
One and done.
One and done, unless Sherb changes his mind.
Nah, probably won't.
All right, guys, we also have 2 training camps coming up. CrossFit Clue, we are calling this Misfit Camp 2.5 because we've been there so many damn times. We want to make sure you guys get some new stuff. That is October 20th through the 22nd. A new wrinkle within camps. You guys will see over our social media, we have something called special guests, and the special guests for this camp will be China Cho and Travis Williams. We've essentially gone back and forth on if we have athletes there, what do we want them to do? Do we want them to coach? Do we want them to work out with you guys? Do we want them to give speeches, blah, blah, blah. And instead of thinking about it in absolute terms, we've decided the answer to all those things is yes. So what they're going to be doing there is providing the athlete's perspective as we're coaching. So they'll be in us with our breakout groups, and if they have some sort of trick on a movement, and I say trick because Travis always says he's found the new trick.
He's still finding them, too.
He is. So you guys can find that there. We are going to force them to jump into workouts with you guys so you can see what it's like to work out alongside 2 of the fittest people on earth. And then they'll be sitting up there with us for some of our lectures so that we can ask them certain questions, how they relate to what we're talking about. And I think that's really... It's taken us a while to get there, but we're there now. I think that's really the best way to get them involved with camp.
Do you call dibs on Travis in all your groups? Just curious.
As far as what? Helping me?
Give him his perspective on all of your coaching points after you give them.
I actually like his perspective. I know that sometimes they're slightly counterintuitive, but he's not thinking of them in a way to change what you've taught them. He's explaining it the way he's thought about it.
Yeah.
So, and there are plenty of people out there who have the same thought process as Travis, and they may not be as analytical as us. So sometimes that thing that we may look at and be like, that was stupid, don't say that, actually clicks for some people. So you can't just dismiss that stuff all the time. So yeah, sure, I'll take him in my groups. We have a good time.
We also have camp at Derby City CrossFit in Louisville, Kentucky, December 8th to the 10th. We are holding the names of the special guests close to the vest.
Wow.
Until we get past the CrossFit Clue. We want to make sure that you guys stay excited with it being all the way in December. So we're going to announce that, but you guys are going to get the same thing, the same special guests, the same, kind of working them into that. So it should be great.
Cool. Passing it back to me?
I guess, sure.
All right. So Cycle 2, if you're new to it this year, if you're new to Misfit this year, or you've been involved throughout the last 3-4 seasons, Cycle 2 is when we start to think about the first time that we're blending things for the season. So Cycle 1, everything is very separate. The strength work, the Oli work's a lot of technique. The bitch work is really on its own. Cycle 2, we start to blend things together. And I'm going to start just by talking about the warm-ups. So as we blend stuff, one of the things we do is we take the raw strength that we built and we try to add some speed to it and create power. And the way that we kind of show that in our sport is Olympic weightlifting, among other things, but that's probably one of the greatest shows of power that we have in our sport. So to prep for that, I'm actually going to talk about the warm-ups really quick. All the warm-ups, because you guys seem to still love those, are done with a... trying to activate as much as we can, as fast as we can. So, for example, some of the warm-ups will have things like jumping squats, banded good mornings, banded glute activation, even things like snatch balance, weighted box step-ups, things to really start to get you fired up. So we want you to move through those things, maybe the first round through nice and slow and careful and take your time and start to make sure the range of motion feels good. And then the second round, the third round, try to add some explosiveness to your warm-up so you really get things fired up before you go even touch the barbell for your lifting session. So that's all I'm going to say on warm-ups is really try to get fired up before you move into the piece so you're not treating the first piece of the day as your warm-up or giving away too many good kind of working sets of lifting as warm-up. So I'd rather you really be able to focus on the small amount of volume that you're going to have and get some quality work out of it. So
I've been using that with my athletes too. I've been telling them if you aren't sweating, like if you aren't dripping before you start your workout, if you aren't moving around, things aren't burning like the good mornings or the banded walks, those things aren't happening.
Easy for you to say. You see a fucking snack.
Hey, easy. If I said those things aren't happening, you're not really treating your warm-up seriously. And like you said, you don't want to be giving away your first working set or two of any lift because you're not warm.
And some of these warm-ups seem like they're maybe a little more volume than things in the past, but they still shouldn't take more than 10 minutes to get through, really. So the 10 minutes dedicating it and actually focusing on the warm-up is a good idea, especially if you're only going to do one or two pieces or even three pieces. If you're one of those people that don't do the whole blog, you're really going to want to capitalize on the volume that you are going to do. And even if you are doing the whole blog, you don't want to give away your first piece.
I'll say, if you're crying about extra volume, are you doing all the warm-up?
Right, there you go.
You're like, I want more volume. How many people are doing that?
Yeah, I mean,
all doing the whole
a
warm-up.
lot of the things in the warm-ups, ourselves and even other programs would consider accessory exercises and skill work. So the extra volume we actually built right in the warm-ups for you, and if you take them serious, you'll get it. So
moving on to strength.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we'll have 3 mandatory days of strength work this cycle. Day 1 will alternate between pause front squats, pause overhead squats. You'll go through triples, doubles, and singles with the percentages getting heavier each week. Day 2, something new to this year that we hadn't had in the past. You want to go into it for a second after I talk about what it is?
Yeah, sure.
Why we did it, but it's going to be some strongman work. You're going to have some yoke carries, sandbag carries, some farmer carries. Before I go into the next day, you might want to give like the 2 cents on why throw those in.
I mean, they just are coming up more and more in the sport. They took the barbells out on us last year at regionals, right? So there was a lot of dumbbell work instead, but they had the sandbag in the last event, and there's no reason why we can't continue to use that trend in a sense that, barbells will be back, but they may not be back in an overwhelming fashion. We're going to have to move the yoke, the farmer's carry, the sandbags. They did it at the games. They'll bring elements of that into the sport earlier and earlier. And if you guys remember, I know we have a lot of people that follow this now, but the blog is still written for regionals athletes, right? So even if you don't have aspirations of making it to regionals this year, that's fine. You can use the strongman work as a way to get stronger, get fitter. It works perfectly well. But if you are in that group that has a shot to get to regionals or will get to regionals, this is something you have to have before the games now, I think, because any element
Just
of this
a comfort
can come
thing,
up.
basically.
Yeah, it's a comfort thing. There's a
experience.
lot of skill. I mean, you guys did a video on how to actually execute a sandbag clean, which I think a lot of people still lacked, and the skill with that still needs to be developed.
I mean, I just went to Granite Games and they had sandbags there, and watching something as simple as sandbag cleans destroyed people, like high-level athletes.
Right.
Take it up and put it over your shoulder, but there's a lot of technique involved.
Yeah, exactly. The way they were doing it just destroyed them. So, I mean.
And the last thing about strongman work that I really like is it gives an athlete an ability to move an obscene amount of weight and have a lot of time under tension with that weight. There isn't a lot of other movements that allow that. I mean, sled work does, which we'll get to. It's actually part of this cycle as well. But how often do you get to hold, 200 plus pounds in each hand and walk 100 feet? Like, those are things you're going to have to learn how to do. You can rack more than your back squat on your back in a yoke and walk with it and really get used to having that.
It's like an overload principle.
Yeah, exactly. So
place we can't normally get to.
It's just another tool like anything else, and it's something that needs to be practiced and appreciated, and that's why it's in here now. And this is the first time we've really made it a part of the program, and we're dabbling with it, and obviously your feedback is going to be crucial, so we'll be watching and listening.
And then moving on, so day 3, we will be squatting twice per week this cycle. Day 3, we'll have back squats. You'll build up to a heavy single, looking for 90% plus. This is not a license to do a max out session every single week, but you have the option to get 90 plus, hit a heavy single, and then back it back down for triples, probably 5 to 7 triples, or are you going 5s the whole
Fives.
time?
It's
5s the whole time?
It's 5s, and the percentages will change as to what's actually heavy for you.
We'll build through heavy triples on Wednesday, and then day 4 we'll have your another optional piece. Day 4 will be your sumo deadlift. We're bringing it back. We've heard a lot of good things, both with the Masters athletes and with the athletes from Post Open Cycle 2. We're looking for small sets here, not big reps here. 3, 6, and 9, nothing crazy heavy. What we want to see is that control that we worked on throughout the last 2 cycles of deadlift. We don't want to see you clanging and banging. We want to see you control the bar to the floor, learn to pull through this movement in a way that, some of us are still getting comfortable with. For me personally, I don't find sumo deadlifts to be as easy as conventional, but that's all the reason to do it, right? If you're not comfortable with it yet, there's a chance to practice some more.
And different body types will reward different deadlift styles, which is really important to know. I'd like the idea personally of switching back and forth from cycle to cycle, from sumo to conventional, just to make sure that people are
there's no weaknesses in this
consistently training. And it eliminates weakness, but also I think it's in a movement like the deadlift that varies from day to day. Your max lift can be 50 pounds higher than it is, the following week, just because of whatever fatigue has gotten after you. So with switching it back and forth, you can kind of almost be cool with some older number and start at a more reasonable weight and build back up. And the next cycle, you're back to the next lift. You can start reasonable, build back up, and you can have more of a gradual build than always be stuck on conventional. Be like, oh, my PR is 520. I have to use that number. And instead of that, we can kind of keep people just almost always on the rebuild on that, because deadlift, as we all know, is pretty serious movement. And if you just keep beating yourself up with it and you're not making progress, all you're doing is hurting the rest of your training. I think.
I would agree with you.
That's
totally
the way I would think about it.
I'm curious to see this association, because sumo deadlift is optional in the cycle.
Correct.
And so for some of my athletes, personally, when we did the sumo deadlift, it's carried over a lot to their squat and their ability to really drive knees out, get a better stance, and bounce out of the bottom. And they have said that it has directly been correlated to, or directly related to, the sumo deadlift and that change in position and getting a little bit stronger in the interior of your legs. And I'm curious to see that the next day is that speed back squat, to how that.
Good point.
I like that combination, because if you can take those same principles in a good stance into your speed back squat, it's going to go a long way. So sorry to get ahead
steal
of
my
you.
thunder right here. So day 5, if you guys haven't heard already, is speed work with back squats. We have an old video on our YouTube. You guys can search that for speed squats. But basically what we're looking to do there is move a bar fast. The percentage is light.
Fast on the way up, though,
fast
right?
on the way up. Yeah, so we just went over this kind of with our deload we had last week, some of our athletes. It does not mean fast through your sets. It does not mean fast to the bottom of your squat. It means control your squat, control all the way to the bottom. When you hit the bottom, drive up as fast as you can. That is the misnomer people have, is they try to just hammer out because it's light. They rep them out like they're doing a 225 back squat in a Metcon. That's not what this is.
Why don't you touch on the bounce in speed work with squatting?
Yeah, it essentially you are warming up for something else that doesn't exist. There's really no point in doing speed squats with a huge bounce. If you rock it to the bottom and then go to stand back up, that force production is probably the last 6 inches of your squat, which not that many people struggle with. That'd be like a very specific thing to do with somebody. So controlling on the way down and then using force production to drive through your feet and stand all the way up, sort of on your own with that weight as fast as you can, that's what's going to make the change here. So that dropping to the bottom and then standing up fast, to the eye is not going to cut it here. You have to control all the way down and come up. We're not calling it a pause squat or anything like that, but you should decide when you turn over. It shouldn't be based on, elasticity. So
very cool.
Cool. I think we should go straight into Olympic lifting.
You guys notice anything different about how everything looks with this podcast? I mean, Bill's behind the camera. Something looks weird.
Have you found it and you're asking us to find it?
Yeah.
No.
Why is Gabe's eye level so close to me?
I was gonna think about configurations.
Me
I'm like,
too.
is normally like Gabe in the middle or something?
Missing.
Either he's
Special
so excited
supplements.
about winning the Granite Games that he's grown 5 inches, or there's something fishy going on under this table.
Pair of Gore-Tex boots.
Oh, he's gonna show
no.
him. Oh
Wow.
no!
Cold-blooded.
He's trying to hide behind.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Let me just
Plain black floor. I don't know.
And
should have the bright red plates.
one other thing before the Olympic lifting, just to make sure that anybody that gets sick of us talking and leaves this podcast, cycle 1 bitch work. Well, I was like so blown away by social media and by the you guys, the Misfits out there, like just totally embracing it. It's like everyone flipped a switch and turned into Travis Williams overnight and was like, we're going to go all out. We're going to post about it. I mean, we get way more posts now about KTB, just all out all the time than we do lifts. And that's
You're
the
right.
culture that we've been trying to build now for 5 or 6 years. And to see it just come flying out in cycle 1 was awesome.
I feel
So
like it went from a hashtag to like a way of training now.
yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where you have to like almost change the mentality a little bit to have it fit each thing. But that mentality, that drive and that dedication fits everywhere. And I think the best place to learn it is in something that's that hard. So just sort of a shout out to you guys, because being obsessed with something that sucks that bad is what we're trying to do.
You know what's funny too is that people typically didn't want to take the time to set up their camera for something like bitch work because it's boring to watch the
not
whole
sexy,
thing. Yeah,
right.
it's not that sexy, but people are doing it now. So people obviously, they film the things that they want to put out there that they find the most value in. So not only are more people posting about it, but more people are actually finding it valuable enough to talk about regularly. So I think it even goes beyond that.
It really does. All right, so Olympic weightlifting. This, the way that I want to explain this is sort of more about making sure that you guys hit your PR in retest week than it is about telling you what the stuff is. A standard Olympic weightlifting template, sort of outside of our community is going to say, we probably know our max because we're Olympic weightlifters, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to fund our 1 rep maxes during test week. And then you're going to go into triples, technique doubles, singles, linear progression. You're going to start at a weight that if you focus enough, you can make perfect. You can do all in a 6x3, all 18 reps can be awesome. And then we just add a little bit more, and we add a little bit more. And unless you didn't focus on your technique in cycle 1, there is no reason why retest week will not be a higher weight if you stay humble and if you follow these things. The only way that I would say you need to stray from the percentages is in the opposite direction. So sorry, coach, I was feeling it today.
I hate that.
Good.
I literally hate that.
Well, it's good. It's good for you. I'm glad that you PR'd, actually. But if we want to learn how to do these things, if you've got a local comp coming up and you know that you've got this 1 rep, you have to learn that wasting that energy instead of actually getting stronger, because you're not going to get stronger. Really.
I should have prefaced that saying, when I say I hate that, I mean like someone hits, 85, 90% of their 1 rep max. It's like, good for you. That's not the point.
Right. So essentially following this, going down through it, and being focused is close to a guarantee on lifting more weight at the end of the cycle than you did before. In terms of actual specifics, you guys are going to be alternating back and forth between a lot of clean and snatch, with some of the clean days being a full clean and jerk. One thing that worked really well in cycle 1 that's now carrying over into cycle 2 is you guys had sort of a technique piece as the warm-up, and when we go heavy singles, we're actually going to go doubles first and do some of that positioning stuff that we did in cycle 1. And we got a lot of really good feedback on people saying that really changed how I felt while I was moving. So we're hoping that happens from the floor. You guys have alternating weeks, just like years past, where you will be doing push press. That's sort of the progression going after the strict press, and then split jerk from the blocks, just to make sure that you guys are there. The final day of the week is sort of like, now we're turning the page from cycle 1. Cycle 1 is so much about being able to pull under the bar because you don't have as much speed from the floor. But there are people out there who that first few inches off the floor, that's going to dictate whether you make the lift or not. If it feels heavy from the floor for you, day 5 is really for you. So you've got heavy power snatch into heavy snatch pull into heavy snatch deadlift. And essentially what we're doing is we're just overloading that first position, which should look a lot more like a squat position from the floor than it does. I know we've got some videos on that you guys can dig up, but really making sure that you're driving through the feet and overloading that so that when you go to pull 70, 80, or 90% of whatever that weight was, it doesn't, get into your head that it was so heavy from the floor. Before I pass it off to workouts, intervals, bitch work, all that stuff, it's really important to talk about making that progression. I mean, some athletes now are 6 to 8 inches from the floor when they're going to the below the knee. We're getting close, right?
Yeah.
We're getting really close, and you guys are doing such a good job. And the reason, if you're wondering why you can lift so much weight, is because you are so tight in that position, because you got to use that kind of rebound effect. You need to be able to mimic that somehow from the floor. It's one of the biggest problems with CrossFitters. We're hoping to fix it with this cycle. We're hoping to fix it with that stuff on day 5. But it's up to you guys to try to find that position during your warm-up. Really feel like, how can I pull myself into tension so that when I drive my feet through the floor for my first pull, my butt doesn't go shooting up or I don't rip the bar into my knees. That will dictate whether you go from the type of person that only PRs from the hang to the type of person who PRs big time from the floor. The floor is the place where you can lift the most weight. We have the most speed once we get to the hip. So there's no reason why we wouldn't lift more weight other than yanking the bar off the floor, not driving through the feet. I mean, there's so many different things, that you have to work on, but find those positions during your warm-ups. Like, really try to find, how do I get better at this lift for just the first 2 or 3 inches off the floor, and then after that, you guys are right back to where you just were, and we're seeing so many people crush it, through social media. So, I have no doubts there.
Day 3 is an interesting day to play with different ways to address the barbell. Some people like that bottoms up setup. Some people like the opposite. Some people really drive their knees out to feel tension in the hip. Like day 3, when you're doing those warm-up sets where you're pausing at the knee, you'll know if you're in the right position, playing with different ones by the time you hit that pause, and see if you can stabilize that weight. If you can't hold that weight without shaking like a leaf, then you're not in a very solid position at moderate percentages. So something to think about. Gabe, let's slide it on over to you for the bitch work.
Yeah, so Drew stole some of my thunder since I did at Sherb. The same speech that he was talking about in terms of bitch work.
You stole my fucking thunder.
So
Standing on that.
Stole his height.
Standing on that shit.
you
borrowed
guys,
height.
we are satisfied with your progress in terms of bitch work in cycle 1.
I'm
Very
not.
Well,
Satisfied?
I think they got the point.
I'm never
of the bitch work.
satisfied with their progress. Let's go.
So we're gonna
Seth's
keep. So we're gonna keep.
It's all
moving
right.
on.
You guys did all right. I mean, let's go.
Well, either way, I thought I saw some
Gabe's
good
proud of
things.
I'm just kidding.
I think you did
Kinda.
a good job.
He's not kidding.
So we're going to kind of move on and progress this a little bit more with the bitch work. And so you'll have 3 mandatory bitch work days per week. The first day is going to be some sprints. So you get to really focus on that max power
my
output.
hammies, though.
Yep.
Yeah, for real.
And then we're going to include some bitch gymnastics. And for most of you guys probably know what that is, but now we're going to include some gymnastics movements combined with the bitch work that you guys have
I'm
been
just
doing.
looking at it right now. It's like, oh my god,
And this
so
is-
delirious after that sprint.
In my
the first
opinion,
round though, Drew, like
So fast.
30 seconds.
in my opinion, if you struggle with gymnastics with it, which is a lot of CrossFitters, this is where you get the most bang for your buck, because you get to apply the same principles of the bitch work of going really, really, really hard, and then a set of gymnastics that you can improve on, which is essentially the best way that you can do it in a Metcon. When you get to the bar later in Metcons and later rounds, you're tired, you're really fatigued. So this allows you to put yourself under that, high heart rate, under fatigue, and then go for that gymnastic set. So in my opinion, this can go a really long way if you apply the same principles as cycle 1 bitch work, and then go and really try to clean up your movement under fatigue.
I think that point is very, very, very undervalued in our sport. When people talk about practice and they always want to take it all the way back to the root of the movement and focus on positions like. And that's great, and you should do that, and that's part of practicing. But for the people who want to be successful in competitions, if you're not practicing the environment in which you're going to experience the movement in competition, then you haven't actually practiced the movement. So that's why in the first cycle or in the off season, we give you guys so much time to actually work on just the root of the gymnastics movements and get good at them and find your hand position and find what the handstand push-up should look like and the timing of the muscle up and so on and so forth. we're getting to the point now that if you can't tie them in and perform what you've practiced under fatigue and practice what it's like to be beat up, midline tired, out of breath, shoulders fatigue, legs fatigue, and still have to perform these gymnastics to the same standard, then you're not practicing the sport. That's really something that I can't get over, and a lot of people just don't see it that way. And of course, there's a line that you have to go, you have to navigate when we're talking about when are you just flopping against the wall after you've gotten off a bike, and when are you actually, executing reps that are building your capacity within the sport of CrossFit. And that's kind of the trickier part to navigate. But point being, if you're not practicing under fatigue and you're trying to be a competitor, then you're not practicing the sport in which you're competing.
If you aren't getting true training experiences, meaning feeling what it's supposed to feel like, then you're wasting your time. And that's kind of what I gathered from this. It's like,
it's not a waste of time. It's a step prior to being at the higher level.
Yeah.
It's the previous step that you're staying at.
Not getting yourself ready to compete, which is what most people are using this. I'd say most people, kind of generalizing, but most people are using this blog for, is to get ready to be more competitive in either the open or local comps or whatever.
Yeah, if you look at the open workouts, you wonder how late in an open workout somebody can be just look like they're dying, look like they're drunk, and they still need more reps, and they just jump up on the pull-up bar and do 20 unbroken chest to bar, and they look good. This is where it comes from, because they practice that under fatigue. So,
and the last thing I just want to say about this before, again, everyone's going to hear this and be like, okay, it doesn't matter how shitty I am at it. I'm just going to go do it now. Scaling is still hugely, hugely important for these style of pieces. The example we'll give, we're looking at week 1, day 2, 4 rounds, 40/24 calories on the bike, 21 kipping handstand push-ups. Now, if you know a set of 21 kipping handstand push-ups isn't happening on its own, well, it sure as hell is not happening after you sprint on the bike, or at least not in a reasonable amount of time. So it's an appropriate thing to do would be to back that down. Maybe it's 12, maybe it's 15, maybe it is 21 the first set, maybe it's 21, 15, 12, 9, something like that. Just be reasonable with yourself and make sure that you actually do get to practice the movements under fatigue. And again, you're not just flopping and sitting around, standing around.
You thought you had time for a puke break during your rest, but you don't. You have to kick upside down now.
Right.
YOLO.
So, okay. Sorry, I just went on.
I can't wait to watch Bill do that.
Gymnastics is just so important in our sport, and it's undervalued.
I definitely think the bitch gymnastics deserve that little tangent, because it's really important. And you'll get 2 opportunities to do that. One's mandatory on day 2, and then once again you'll get to do it on day 4 if you choose to. It'll be optional. You get some standard bitch work on the day 3. So if you really need to continue to just focus on that monostructural conditioning, you can continue to do that. And then everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
You'll have a long bitch work piece on day 5. We're working up to a 50-minute conditioning piece, steady state, really trying to spend a lot of time in a monostructural piece to make some progress mentally, physically, just continuing what we did a little bit last year. I think you guys got a lot better from it, and so it's back.
Please warm up. I swear to God, if you just take off out the door leisurely on that 30-minute run and you finally feel good 23 minutes into it, you have completely missed the point.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
What a cool story, bro.
Thanks, Dad. Okay.
Neat.
I already have to do a 60-minute run. Thanks for adding a warm-up in. Cool. Yeah. No, he's right, though. I mean, the running has become such a big part of the sport obviously not at the open level because you can't measure it on an online competition, but the next 2 levels will become more and more important all the time. And I'm completely biased because of what I've trained this year and the advantages I've seen from getting out there and logging miles. And I just feel like it's something that everyone should get comfortable with. You don't have to get great at it. You just have to be comfortable with it. And that's
Sherby's committed to that.
That's all we're trying to do.
He's way fitter right now.
Well, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Running in general used to
Test
be a big joke in CrossFit. Used to laugh when the running piece came up, but now it's
pass.
We would order pizza.
Real. Yeah.
We would be waiting.com. It's not 1 power clean. 5K run. Domino's open. What's up?
Yeah, pretty much. We'll make something else up. Yeah. Okay. So get out and run, guys, before the snowfall gets real bad. All right. So we're going to cover WODs and intervals together really quick. There's one difference that I'll point out right away, other than the fact that an interval is an interval and the WOD or the Metcon straight through. The intervals will not have any monostructural component at all. So all the interval work will be cycling through barbell gymnastics or odd object gymnastics or gymnastics, or barbell, so on and so forth. There won't be any combination of monostructural movements outside of things like burpees, double unders, wall balls, but those are kind of within the Metcon movement standard. There'll be no running, no rowing, no biking, no skiing, nothing like that. So the intervals will be very much in the gym style, very CrossFit-y. Am I allowed to say that still? Probably not.
We're going to have to take it down.
Yeah.
Functional fitness.
Fitnessy.
X-Fit.
So that's the only difference, really. The Metcons will be very standard, classic, functional fitness.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and you guys know what to expect. There's nothing crazy in there. Those are both are 3 days a week. Almost all but one is mandatory. And then finally, the accessory work. Two things in particular that I want everyone to improve on. One is their handstand walk. And it's not just walking forward. So we're going to have you guys get really comfortable on your hands and hopefully get you guys walking forwards, backwards, and even shuffling side to side, even if that's on a wall. Just getting more and more comfortable with your hands, pirouettes, things like that. If our sport continues to keep handstand walking in, adding speed and adding more agility on your hands basically will be the two next elements that we'll go to. So trying to walk as fast as you can, trying to change directions, things like that. You'll see more of that. We're also going to put sleds in there. So with the strongman theme in mind and the power theme in mind, sleds are the obvious choice to make a comeback. And you'll have a combination of forward-facing sprints, backward-facing drags, forward-facing drags, everything we've had in the past.
Stuff.
All the good stuff. You're going to have a combination of that again. This year, and we have a video on YouTube kind of showing you, because we never program weights. We just kind of program what the speed, style, and feels should be. Yeah. And so we have videos on YouTube showing you guys what those different sled, sprint, marches, drags, heavy as fuck, whatever, all that stuff, what that looks like.
Yep.
We will have 1 day a week of more dynamic and high skill gymnastics work. So legless rope climbs, variations on handstand push-ups, variations on muscle-ups, things like that, more dynamic style, high-skill style. And then we just have some pressing work, some dumbbell work. We have a lot of other things mixed in there, shoulder taps, strict pulling, strict pressing, things like that that'll be mixed in to appropriate days. So pretty simple stuff, nothing groundbreaking there. Big thing to take away from accessories, the handstand walking, and the sled work is back. So that's basically cycle 2. It's a lot of stuff, but that's cycle 2. 6-week cycle, test week on each side. Am I missing anything?
I think just quickly touching on, you guys most days have a pick one in there, and Seth, you can tell me if it's on purpose, but you did a really good job of like this or that. They're not similar.
Correct.
And essentially, if you're a Sherb or a Gabe, you're going to do one or the other, right? I mean, I can see immediately all of the stuff that Sherb would all of the stuff that Sherb would do, all of the stuff that Gabe would do, and every time I look at it, it's opposite.
Right.
Every single time. So
that's my new standard. That's my new standard, the Sherb Gabe opposite test. I didn't
spectrum.
think of it. That's the spectrum. I didn't think of it that way.
We're
but
on the
that
spectrum.
just simplified my whole process for me.
We are the spectrum.
So that's good. I like that.
T-shirt idea right
So
we are the spectrum.
we are spectrum.
you guys can
Cable.
stay there. So yeah, I mean, you guys just need to be honest with yourself. I mean, if you're not doing remote coaching, if you don't have someone at your gym that's saying, hey, don't you love pause front squats? You should be doing this.
If you look at the blog and say, hey, that looks fun, let's do that.
Yeah,
but I don't really need to.
That's
But
actually a good indication.
It's so obvious that it shouldn't be a problem. And if you want to choose something that you like, you'll have an option there too, and you won't get better, but you'll have an option.
You'll have fun.
Hey, I
at
like
least.
that. Okay, do the other one.
Yeah.
Easy as that.
It is.
Hey, I like that one. Okay, do the other one.
See, we're making life easy for you guys. So Okay.
Did we do it?
Are we satisfied?
I think so.
No, we're not.
Never.
Did you learn?
Never.
We're not satisfied.
Oh,
but
never
we
mind.
tried to give you guys all the information for Cycle 2. So until next time.
We're indifferent.
Yeah, we're indifferent to our presentation, but we hope you guys enjoyed it.
Good
So,
luck.
see ya.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.
No.
Holy shit, I am so sorry.